Equine is a horse racing game on a Cardano blockchain. While the game is still in development, the team recently released the racing guide. It is quite detailed and actually very exciting. Let's get into it. You got yourself a horse and you want to race, but you don't know which race to choose. The race system relies on something very simple, which are the racing points. It's very straightforward. You put your horse in a race, and depending on its performance, you earn or lose racing points. So let's say you get in a race and you win by a landslide, you will get a lot of points. But if you barely win, you will just get a few racing points. And so this way, the horses that win, well, they go up, and the whole population goes up and down depending on their performance, which means that after some point you will be with horses that are of similar capacity. And then this translates into something else, which are racing classes. So there'll be 5 classes, the 5th one being the lowest and the first one the most prestigious. And how does that translate? With the racing points, we have some idea here. And I think this was a great idea to show this. So you can see at the bottom, if you have 50 racing points, you are a typical class 5 horse. 65 points, class 4, and so on, so forth. Looks like class 1 horses will be around 100 points. So already, you see this progression. And it's also interesting if you want to trade horses. If you want to buy or sell, you can look at the racing points and you will have an idea where the horse sits. Now the question is, well, how do you decide those points in the first place? Well, this is decided with the first races, which are called Maiden Races. So Maiden Races are typically for horses that never won. So everyone at the beginning will get in there until they win. So if you win, you get out of the maidens. Or if you participated in 3 maiden races, you get a racing point value associated to the horse. So we're able to gauge your horse performance after 3 races, and you can use that to go and participate to other races. So you will not be stuck because your horse never won. And the way it works is that, at the beginning when the horses are young, 2-year-old, you will have short races, and then as time goes by, more and more distances, more and more races, to the point that, at some point you have to win, to put it simply. So this is how you get your racing points, and that is how we will rank all the horses. Now, there are different kinds of races. Maiden is the first one, but we also have handicap races. And this will be probably the bulk of the races on equine. So what is handicap? So basically, they look at the racing point value of the horse, and actually of all the horses in the race. And if you have the horse with the most racing points, then you'll be handicapped more than the horse that has the least in the same race. It's a way to level the playing field. So here they give an example. You see Tom's horses has 100 RPs, so he's handicapped by 60 kilos. But if you go to the bottom, so Joey's horse, who has only 81 RPs, so 19 RPs less than Tom, his penalty is just 50.5 kilos. Something to explain is that in every race, horses carry weight. They always carry weight. What matters is the difference in the amount. So when you see that Joey has 50.5 kilos of added weight, that's normal. It's not a handicap by itself, it's the difference with other horses that is leveling the playing field. And this is super interesting because it means that even if you pit horses that have different racing points, well, every one of them has a chance. It's a bit more complex than that. So to get a bit more into the details is that your racing points is where you are standing now. Let's say that Joey's horse with 81 points here, maybe it has 81 points because it didn't do that many races, but maybe it has a lot of potential. So imagine it's actually a strong horse and it's not handicapped a lot, so it may do very well. Similarly, we can take the opposite side of the spectrum. So Tom's horse, which is the highest RPs with 100, he's handicapped 60 kilos, but maybe he's still in a great progression, has a lot of potential left, and this handicap doesn't mean much. Maybe his real RPs are like 110, 115. He just didn't get there yet. So we are just trying to level the playing field, but it's not, it's based on the perceived current ability of the horse, not the real ability or the potential. And that's where it's super interesting. So then I really like this slide too because they show you, okay, what kind of races you can get depending on your RPs. So we talked about classes. Depending on your RPs, you're in a different class. So you can see here different handicap races. So class 5 between 0 and 60 RPs, class 4 55, 75, and so on. Notice how there is an overlap between classes. So for instance, class 4 handicap goes up to 75 racing points, but class 3 starts at 70. So maybe there's something to do here. Maybe you want to, if you have like a 75 racing points class 4, then maybe you can push it to this class 3 handicap, and that's how it will go up the ladder. Alright, then we have conditions race. So here it gets a bit trickier. As I said earlier, in every race, all horses carry weight. In handicap races, the weight is decided based on the racing points. But in conditions races, the weight is decided by different factors. So, for instance, it could be the horse age, for instance, or how much prize money it won, or did it win anything significant before. So it's more based on those somehow meta properties of the horse. And here they give a list of examples. So if we start from the top, so Group 1 race, okay, the most prestigious, all runners carry the same weight. And then you go to Group 2, and here, well, if you put your horse in the Group 2 race, but it won the Group 1 before, then it will be handicapped. He will have more weights. And that's how the weight is distributed between horses. And similarly to handicap races, this overlap and you go up the ladder. Here there's something similar, starting with allowance races, where the restrictions are very simple. It can be only horses that are, 4-year-old, for instance. And then you go up to listed races, Group 3, Group 2, Group 1. The higher you go, the most prestigious it is. So here they give an example of what kind of conditions you can see. So the first one is a Group 1 condition race. The only restriction is it's open to horses that are 6-year-old and older. Simple as that. That is the condition. And in that case, they don't put any weight penalties. Then, we take this Group 2, it's for 4-year-old only, and you see the penalties. So if the horse already won a Group 2 race, then it has added weight. If it won a Group 1 race, which is even more prestigious, then it has even more weight added. So this is a great way well, for horses to participate in maybe least prestigious races, and play kind of on a on the same level as other horses. So it's great if you have the horse that is entering the Group 2 for the first time and you're playing against horses with better track record, and well, they try to put everyone at the same level using those weights. Now there's the possibility of, okay, I have a horse, he's 6 years old, so I can put it in Group 1 right away. Why not? I mean, the only restriction is racing points, I believe. So you have the racing points, but you never took part in a conditions race and say, okay, let's go for Group 1. I want the cash prize, I believe in my horse, let's go. It is possible, but it is smart. I don't know. If you identified a weak group, or you see the horses in the race and you're like, okay, I have a shot at it, then maybe. But otherwise you will probably lose. And in the event that you would win, like, you got lucky, you won this prestigious race, then what's next? Let's say that your horse actually has level for Group 2. So you put in Group 1, you're lucky, you win, great. But next time you put it in Group 2, because of this prior win, it will have more weight added. So it will make it more difficult. So don't think short term, don't only look at the cash prize. I think there's a legitimate interest in trying to climb the ladder progressively. And then, well, they talk quickly about aging. I'm not gonna get on that, just the stats evolve every month. And then they talked about age groups and schedule progression. And this is important. The way I see it is kind of like, imagine a football player that, he got out of the training camp, whatever. He's playing kind of in those low divisions, and then he's going up. He started at 17-year-old playing the under 18 category. Then he did well. Then he got recruited in a Division 2 club, and then he's doing well. Then he goes as he gets experience. It's kind of this idea. So here I'm gonna ignore this first column, real life. I'm not gonna pay attention to that. I'm gonna look at the equine age. And so here they give you a good idea of how the progression of the horse will look like. You can already plan a few months ahead what kind of races your horse will participate in. That is super useful. You will probably refer to that slide multiple times. So at the beginning, your horse is 2 short races, but then later in the season, slightly longer races. Then age 3, there are Group 1 races, so the most prestigious ones, already at age 3. Most prestigious, better cash prize. So, okay, age 3, you can already take part in those Group 1 races. Age 4, if your horse is still in maiden, there are now longer maidens. And the classics start. So the classics, it's basically some prestigious races. So you may know in the US, like the Kentucky Derby and so on. They have also the same in UK and in other jurisdictions. In the case of equine, they have a slide explaining this. So you have 5 races, depending on the age, depending on the sex of the horse as well. Some are for stallions, some for mares. And so you can see when you're 4-year-old, you can start participating in those prestigious races. And when they turn 5, they can do the last one, Equine Saint Léger, where it's a very long race, 2.8 kilometers. And this is for age 5. So age 4 and 5 is like the prime time where you have the most prestigious races. And that's where you will try to win. You see the dates here. So Equine Thousand Guineas and Equine Thousand Guineas on week 2, Equine Oaks and Equine Derby on week 4, and then the following season you get the final race, which is open to both stallions and mares. So going back to the schedule, age 4-5, it's when you focus on those class 6 prestigious races. And then at age 6 in equine, well, you have special categories for horses that are 6 and older, and now you have super long races like 20 furlongs, so that's like 4 kilometers. So if you have horses with high stamina, probably age like 5-6 would be when you will be able to use their potential. And this could be a strategy. So you have horse with a strong stamina, you can do training to improve specifically the stamina stat. I say stamina, but there's also endurance as a physical stat. So maybe you will invest all those years of training so that on year 6 or year 5 you can go and do those 20 furlong super long races. So maybe there's something there too. Similarly, the short races at the beginning with age 2 and 3, maybe people who have horses with strong speed and acceleration will be favored at the beginning. So there is a strategic aspect in there. And I think that's pretty much it. They talk about Group 1 races, so the most prestigious ones. We have a lot of examples. Actually, it starts at 2-year-old here with a short distance of 1,000 meters, and then you see the older the horses get, the longer the race is available. And there are some kind of Easter eggs in there. Community members will recognize the Lovelace Stakes. There's also the Marek Mile. It's pretty fun to see those nods to the community. And that wraps up that video, actually. So it's very simple in a sense. You have racing points, you win, you lose, those points move, so you get access to different races. The question is, do you go for handicap races, where it's your racing points that decide how much weight your horse carries, or do you go for conditions races, where it's other parameters like the prize money one or the age of the horse that decide the weight? Again, they try to level the playing field, but it doesn't really mean that it's random, like not at all. Again, it's really about the potential. And you can imagine that if you take a horse, two horses with similar racing points, but different affinities for the type of terrain or weather, and also different jockeys, this also plays a role. So even though it may look like everyone has the same chance, while you as a player, with the knowledge of your horse and the jockey you use and the specific races you enter, you have a lot of influence as well. So I think that as a player who knows nothing about horse racing, this speaks to me. There's a real strategic aspect to it. And one more thing that I just realized, I forgot to talk about this, but entry fees. This is also part of the strategy. You can see here entry fees in ADA from 10 to 250. So wow. And you see, depending on the class, you get different tiers. And this is also another aspect you will need to think about is, okay, how much money am I willing to spend? It is quite a simple question, but it's not so simple when you think about it. You need a budget, basically. Personally, I'm going with 100 ADA per horse, to do 10 races at 10 ADA, just for the discovery phase, just to try different kinds of races, different distances, different weathers, different surfaces, to see what parameters are beneficial to my horse. So I planned that. I'm not gonna play, I think I have 23 or 24 horses at the moment. I'm not gonna try with all of them, obviously. But yeah, you need to plan the budget and then see, because you will not win every time. And that's something to think about, definitely. Thankfully, there will be free races. If you own the gaming pass, the Pioneer Pass, you'll also get access to free races. So maybe you can do all this discovery phase of your horse based on free races. And then once you are sure what your horse's strengths are, then you can start investing. Why not? I find it a bit intimidating, like the 250 ADA for class 1, but imagine the purse. 10 horses, 250, that's 2.5, and Equine takes a 10% fee for maintenance purposes, so it's basically 250,000 for a Group 1 race with the higher fee. So pretty cool. And another thing that I realized I forgot, sorry I'm all over the place, is this one here. I know it was an issue for Photo Finish, that they struggled to fill up their races at the beginning, so they had to cancel and so on until they got enough players. In Equine, it may not happen because they used what they call instant races. So the idea is fairly simple. Let's say there's a race today, 4 p.m. Let's say class 5, 2-year-olds. Very simple, very basic race. And people go, and let's say we just look how many horses registered. Let's say 100. Okay, so we split them in 10 races with 10 horses in each. So it doesn't matter how many people register. It will, if it exceeds the size of the field, then it gets split into equal races. And I think this will allow for players to be able to play every day. Maybe not a lot of races per day, but at least they will have some kind of guaranteed spot. Some race will be guaranteed to run in some aspect. So these are the instanced races, which are the bread and butter of the races. And then you have feature races, and these are the fancy ones. The more prestigious ones. Here, seats are limited. So every horse which is eligible can register, and at the end we take the ones with the most racing points. And if 2 horses have the same amount of points, then it's random. If you registered but you don't make it to the race, obviously you get your entry fee refunded. So nothing to lose. And so those feature races will become the highlight every week, every month. We'll see the best horses, like those classics we talked about earlier. So it will be interesting that it's like a sport that has a calendar, and you will follow the horses, your horses obviously, but probably some guilds, some players will raise to prominence, and you will watch them, you will watch their streams, and we'll have a whole ecosystem and viewing experience on all of this. I'm personally really looking forward for this to start, and still waiting for the beta to open to the moderators and to the rest of the community. Last update was end of summer should be the time the game hits the mainnet. So you have time to look at this guide, iron out some strategies, and get ready for the game when it finally comes out. Alright, so that's it for this long unscripted video. Thanks for tagging along. Really curious to hear about your strategy, your comments. I know this is more like UK, Australian horse racing from what I heard. Photo finish is more US, so maybe in that sense they complement each other. So curious to hear what are your thoughts. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.